a huge problem could be censorship. If people aren't talking about things, then people feel isolated and they feel alone because no one's talking about what they're feeling, even if it is a negative. Every day I get death threats. Every day I get people sending whatever they can, saying, oh, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna do all these things. Everything you can imagine I get all the time, probably one every 3 or 4 hours. And because of that, it's like, what are you gonna say about me now? You really think I care? I'm bisexual, I've been called that name my entire life, and so I use that word all the time in my music. It's allowed me to take the power back in that. I'm called that all the time, well fuck yeah, I'm a faggot. Every day I go live just to tell my audience it's so important, there's nothing good or cool about hurting yourself. I stopped because I was able to use music as my coping mechanism, chase this dream. Because of that, I've made this happen. So it's important people find a healthy coping mechanism and know they're not alone, but censorship is not the answer to that.
Love him, hate him, every generation's got one. Our guest today is TX2. Welcome to Fire with Fire. I'm your friend, Ryan J Downey. Evan, thanks for joining me in this white void.
Thank you for having me, man. This is awesome.
I've been saying it's my kitchen, so we'll just go with that.
Dude,
welcome to my kitchen.
This is a kitchen.
Yeah, can't cook anything in here, unfortunately.
We're cooking.
Yeah, we're about to start cooking. Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say I'm honored to be able to do your first real sit-down, long-form, get-to-know-you conversation. So I'm just happy to come on board for the ride. So one thing I love to ask everyone, and I don't know that I've asked you this, tell me about when music first grabbed you, the first music you fell in love with, and then tell me at what point did you realize this isn't just something that I love, this is something that I need to participate in. I gotta be part of this.
I started on drums when I was 5 years old.
Whoa.
And my mom wanted me and my brother to just bond, so we played in bands growing up. But the first ever CD I got was The Black Parade and American Idiot. And so those two albums, I like formed my personality off and feel like were like huge inspirations for me.
I can see that.
And yeah, I guess they inspired me. Seeing Billy Joe Armstrong and Gerard Way, they were like my heroes at a time where I felt like I didn't really have heroes growing up. So I was like, I want to be that, and I want that to be my purpose in life. And doing this just helps me have something to live for.
What kind of stuff were you doing with your brother?
We played in a band, actually several different bands. Like growing up, when I was a drummer, I had played for about like 5 or 6 years, just enough to do all the stick flips and stuff. And then we started—
The important thing.
Yeah, no, right. And we played in like a country band at one point, a rock band, and a pop band, and then even a jazz band, and a worship band, which is crazy. Wow. And then I also was on the side playing in like a metalcore side project, which is an Asking Alexandria cover band. Wow. And then I also played in other just bands, whoever needed a drummer at the time, I was just filling in.
That's quite a mark of distinction for asking that they're a band that inspired cover bands.
Yeah, I know, dude.
I tend to think about like Kiss and Metallica, like tribute bands.
It was a hell of a band while it lasted.
Yeah. You mentioned the worship band. Did you grow up like an evangelical background, or was that?
Yeah, I grew up with a religious family and Christian, and because of that, I always spent a lot of my life religious.
And how do you feel that kind of coincided with? Because, there's certainly, if you're getting into metalcore and bands like that, there are bands, that are thought of as like Christian metal bands or whatever. Did you go into that lane at one point, or? No,
and I didn't like the Christian rock bands growing up, even though I was like Christian as much. But actually it was just that. I didn't really get into Christian bands as much.
So you've been pretty outspoken and unapologetic about difficulties that you had as a kid, and things in your childhood that were less than pleasant. First of all, where does the courage come from to put yourself out there and share such intimate and kind of scary parts of yourself?
I think there was a day where I just realized that I wanted to make it in music. This was my dream, and no one would ever care about me because it doesn't matter how good of an artist you are or how good you look or whatever it is that it might be. There's so much more of it, and basically you have to give people a reason to care. That was like a big realization, and it happened after a point where I felt like I hit was a rock bottom, and I was like, I had so many things that happened That I was just like, all right, at this point, it's either I'm going to make it or I just don't want to be here anymore. So I was like, when you're fight or flight, what do? I had to fight and figure out what it had to. And then through doing that, putting myself out there, having people have all these opinions, say whatever it was, I was just like, why does it even matter? I'm just, as long as I'm doing it, fuck everyone else. Can I say fuck?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
word.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I should have asked that first.
We're all about free speech and free expression on
Right.
this show, so.
That makes sense.
So fucking A.
Yeah, let's go.
So you made reference to just now some of the vitriol and kind of negative feedback, but I can only imagine that there's also an equal amount of positive feedback in people that are connecting and saying, I had a childhood kind of similar to yours, or I've struggled with some of the things you've struggled with. Has that been your experience?
Absolutely. Every night of tour, there'd be a lot of people who would say something along the lines of because every time we play a show, we like to meet every fan after and just say like, thank you for coming out at the merch booth. And every time, we're meeting fans, there's at least a bunch who are always like, your music saved my life, it changed my life, whatever it is. And then for most of them, they believe it, and you can just feel that. And it's like, wow, I'm doing something with my life. Now I have a purpose.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about the vitriol online and the sort of combative nature of some of the comments and this whole culture of like anger and that people tend to just erupt and spew out at strangers online. And you're kind of this lightning rod for it right now. It's always someone's turn in the barrel, right? There's always somebody that the mob of scene people are attacking. Have you felt, since you've been making music and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, have you felt in any way constricted by that negativity, or like you have to check what you're saying at all, or does it just inspire you to be that much louder?
Not at all. It's fuel. I have spent so much of my life harnessing horrible things that happened to me and making that the reason that I'm going to make it. I even have a Vendetta list. I got a few names on a list that I'm like, one day these people are going to see my name on a billboard, and that's what honestly part of my existence too, is to make sure they see it. And so it's all fuel for that.
And when you say names, you mean usernames where you can tag all of them?
I know their usernames. Yeah. Also, they'll see. Yeah, one day. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and look, a lot of great stories, whether it's, Dave Mustaine getting fired from Metallica and starting Megadeth, or whether it's Andy Biersack from Black Veil Brides, a lot of great stories are fueled by revenge. That idea of like, I will show them that they were wrong.
1000%.
And that's a big fuel for your fire.
Keeps me going. Yeah, certainly.
So when you started this iteration, like TX2, because you mentioned your metalcore side project and Asking Cover Band and all the different things that you've done, how did this form to the kind of present evolution that we see now?
I started TX2 when I was 15 because I got sick of playing in bands. I got burnt out. We had a band member that died, and then in one band, another band member with a drug addict singer. The Asking Alexander cover band. And then we had another band. Just basically all these bands kept falling apart. And it was usually the singer, I felt like, that was like causing the problem. So I was like, I just want to walk into a venue with my laptop and not have to deal with anybody else. And so I was a rapper. I couldn't sing when I was like 15, I knew that, but I could drum. And I was like, rapping is like drumming with words. And I knew enough about rap. I also loved Eminem growing up. And I was like, I am just going to be a rapper. It wasn't authentic. I think people felt that. Everyone made fun of it, etc.
You were also 15.
It's 15,
Let's
true.
not forget that part.
True, but people are vicious at 15. But and I was like, all right, this isn't authentic to me. I grew up with rock music. I want to make rock rap music. And then I started mixing in rock music, and then I started learning to sing, and then I started learning to scream, and I was like, all right, I just want to like combine all of my influences into one.
I mean, and I think ultimately that's where all the artists we remember come from. It's like they took this and this and this and put it through their own personal experience, and it came out as something unique that only they could make, even with all the influences. And that reminds me, one of the first things that I'd heard about you early on was that, he has this song and it's getting really popular, but it kind of sounds like this other band's song. And I just think about how many bands over the years that's been said about.
Yeah.
Avenged Sevenfold, multi-platinum, huge band, and then people are like, well, that song sounds like Metallica, though, and that song sounds like, it's kind of a universal thing that artists face. What's your experience been with kind of dealing with that?
Man, it's been interesting. We released a song, the song that it sounds like referring to, called Black Wedding. In the pre-chorus of that song, when we were writing it, we were like, da 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 da, and we just weren't thinking about it. But subconsciously, I love to get scared, so it was probably there, etc. And we released the song, and it went viral because everyone was hating on it, saying it sounded like another song,
Right.
so it worked to our advantage. It was a weird thing. But it's so interesting, the singer of Get Scared, Nick, and it's awesome that you asked this today because like literally an hour ago, I'm not sure if you saw what happened anyways. But
No, what happened
Oh,
an
dude,
hour
it's
ago?
it's crazy, dude, it's crazy. So the singer of the band he was like, hey, I'm a fan of you. He's like, dude, this happens all the time with songwriting. This has happened to us before, except, right? It's just songwriting.
Literally
It
everyone,
yeah, it's like, yeah, etc. He's like, I hope you know I support you. It's been great. We've been talking over these months. And then he posted something today. I was like commenting. I was like, dude, it's so hyped for Get Scared's reunion. And a bunch of comments. What are you gonna do? Steal another song of theirs? All these crazy things, which is kind of funny. But the crazy thing was like, Nick actually responded to all of them. It was like just sticking up for us, and it was like, great, that's awesome. He gets it. And then it's basically being like how ridiculous. You try writing a song. You know what I'm saying? His response. And this is the person. And they're like, and someone responded and was like, don't you know he stole your song? And he's like, dude, we're gonna work with it now because it's crazy. And we're like, dude, I love Get Scared. That's crazy. But the point being, this happens. I think people are always looking for something to hate, especially in the alternative culture. I feel like it's made of a lot of people who've been bullied, and when you face abuse or bullying in other ways, there's a lot of different directions, and one of those directions you could potentially take is creating the cycle.
Yes.
And then passing it forwards. So it makes sense that this is like, there's so much hate
Well,
in
it's
the
like that.
alternative
It's like
scene.
that saying, hurt people hurt people.
Right.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
it's a scene that attracts a lot of us who, like you said, were bullied and alienated and things like that. I mean, that's amazing validation from Get Scared, and it also reminds me of, one of my closest friends is Andy from Black Veil Brides, and his story, also starts when he's very young and the MySpace era, and he's taping himself and putting stuff up and, singing and playing guitar by himself in his bedroom with no band members, and a very similar thing. And I thought it was really cool of him recently when he just tweeted kind of out of the blue, not even knowing that much about you, but just kind of hearing like, hey, it sounds like you're putting this kid through all the same shit I got put through. Fuck you, leave him alone.
I live with my guitarist Cam, who's my roommate over there, and we when we saw that tweet, I was like, Cam, Andy tweeted about us. This is nuts. So yeah, that was crazy, dude. I can't even believe that. And that was like a day where I was like, it's happening.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I mean, it's very cool that the way that your listeners can see themselves in your music, that some of these other artists who are a little more established can see themselves in your story as it's developing. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I remember when there's endless bands you can name that people hated on for different reasons that were successful, not only in spite of it, but because of it in some instances.
1000%. 1000%.
You mentioned being bullied and feeling like an outsider and all of that. It's so funny because I was just thinking about this the other day. Like you always have those memories from childhood where it's like you can remember it vividly, and then you can think like, oh, I wish I would have done this, or like I wish I knew martial arts then, or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like I don't know how there are so many bullies because so many of us were bullied. It's like and maybe I'm just gravitating towards the right people, but yeah, like what happened to all those losers who were bullying us?
It's the cycle. It's the reason abusive parents sometimes make abusive children abusive. It's just a repeating cycle of hate in the world and everything. It's just people are animals on a rock floating through space. Because of that, some animals are just mean,
Was this stuff that you dealt with like at school, or like what was kind of we're talking online bullying?
Yeah, it's everything. I feel like ever since I started TX2, it was almost like a death wish because I started when TX2 and I was this SoundCloud rapper joke everyone made fun of, and then it spread among the school districts, so it'd be like at football games, there'd be like mass amounts of people that'd be making fun of me, etc., and then it'd like throwing things at me and etc., so I was like, been used to people throwing things at me. And then it got physical. There's a lot of things that happened, and then I moved to Miami because I wanted to get away from everything when I was 18. I was like, I just want to be done with all this. And then I went while I was out there, some other horrible things, just things happened that it just made me just keep it. I I can't even talk about some of it, but some of it is just, it basically just kept going, and I was like, and then I started TX2, and then my viral moment was me talking about how I was like, you know, the lyrics are, this is all a cry for help that they will never get, and then the whole song became viral on TikTok, and everyone was hating on it and making fun, and then it was like, you're proving my point.
Right.
And I've just, but the good news is I feel like I've become so desensitized where it's like, every day I get death threats, every day I get people sending whatever they can, saying, oh, I hope horrible, like, you know, I'm gonna rape you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna do all these things. Everything you can imagine, I get all the time, every day. I think it's the frequency is one every 3 or 4 hours. And because of that, it's like, what are you gonna say about me now? You really think
noise.
I care? You know what I'm saying? It's just a noise.
Yeah. It all starts to blur together.
Yeah.
Do you think that really sort of polarizing reaction? I mean, because to me, there's so much art where it is polarizing. It's loved or hated, and that tends to be the most interesting stuff, oftentimes. You know, I mean,
1000%.
a bunch of Norwegian teenagers in their basement making black metal. You know, now black metal is like the biggest cultural export from Norway. There's museums and things for it. And at the time, you know, people were making fun of them for putting on corpse paint and going in the woods and taking their pictures.
1000%.
I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast if you're going to do anything that challenges the status quo.
The Nickelback effect, the Limp Bizkit effect, My Chemical Romance was not cool to like 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
Changed. But, you know, all these bands, et cetera, Black Veil Brides, you know, Eminem, you know, Marilyn Manson, bands.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about, you mentioned going viral on TikTok, and, you know, there's all these different ways of making art and delivering it and connecting with people, and the fact that you were able to do so much before you had a label, before you had management, before you had an attorney, before you had all the, I mean, now you have this great team behind you, but just kind of doing that stuff on your own. I mean, what was that process like? Like, how were you able to just get stuff out there?
It was, I think my last job is I actually worked 2 jobs. I created my own music marketing company, and I ran ads for other artists. I also actually worked at a music agency at the same time, also doing marketing, and I was a server at the same time. And then it was like work for most of the day, be done by like 6, 7 p.m., go home, work on Excel sheets, figuring out how programming works on TikTok. Basically, I was like, and it really came at a time where I really didn't have many friends, and I was like, what do I have to live for? I'm either gonna make it or what? You know, why am I here? So I just spent every single working hour I possibly could working, because I was like, I'm gonna make it. I don't know if, like, luck is just a series of numbers. Everything in life can be described by probability and numbers. So if I just keep pushing the numbers to the human extent of what I can get to where I want to.
It was like the movie Moneyball.
Yeah.
You're the Jonah Hill of the scene.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Coming up with the solving the formula. I mean, you do have for all of the hate and animosity and crappy comments online, you have something that so many other people want, which is the ability to get stuff out there and have people pay attention to it. I mean, that in and of itself is, you know, kind of a minor miracle, especially if we live in an age where you can do that.
Yeah, I agree. It is all thanks to effectively social media now. It's like, it's not about who you know, it's about how many people know you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, that has changed. I mean, it's really kind of changed the barrier to entry, because you can, like you said, just show up with a laptop and make something. And
anyone can do it right now. At any moment in time, the game can change. At any moment in time, someone else is going to pop up, and it's just going to, because you can do it all from your phone at home.
Yeah, you know, the biggest Spirit Box music video costs $600.
That makes sense,
and it's just like incredible, but that's like the world we live in now. There's no more gatekeeping for that.
1000%.
If you make something cool, people will see it and share it.
1000%.
So where do you think the controversy comes from? Because you hear that, you don't hear TX2 without hearing controversial, or he's loved but he's hated, and he's hated but he's loved, and it was, you know, I mean, you hear the same things about Ronnie Radke, you hear the same things about Black Veil Brides, like,
right.
What is that? In your case?
In my case, it comes from me. I grew up listening to Black Veil Brides, Falling in Reverse, Eminem, My Chemical Romance, Limp Bizkit, Nickelback, all these bands that were hated, and I realized that makes people talk, and it's better, like, what can I stand for that I believe in so strongly, and how can I word it in a way where, like, if I piss people off, it's their fault. Like, some people think what I do is Ragebait. I think it's stupid bait. Like, if you're gonna get mad at some guy on the internet for saying he has the hardest rock song of all time, like, what do you, like, you're gonna go comment on that? Like, just scroll, you're stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like, it's wrestling in a way, right? Like it's, I mean, or Kiss, or like anything that's been theatrical than boisterous. It's hip hop,
Most of the time, and there's exceptions to this, but angriest people are the stupidest. It's like anger is like is an ignorant emotion. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a wasted emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Most times, there are exceptions.
I mean, yeah, I guess there's justifiable anger in
1000%. Justifiable anger is completely different, but like, this is the hardest rock song of all time. Like, you're mad about that?
That's just fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it also opens up the playing field to like, well, then make a harder rock song.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Why does it matter? What is the art? Everything is subjective. Yeah.
Yeah. Fun. So the people that you are connecting with, who aren't the haters, who aren't the empty can rattles the most, what are you hearing from them? I know you talked about people saying that your music has helped them through a hard time or helped them from self-harm, which is funny because one of the criticisms about you is he glorifies self-harm,
right.
And yet you have actual human beings coming up to you saying that you helped them stop self-harming. So,
well, the most important thing is starting with, it's like a series of steps, but letting people know that they're not alone. Because the problem I remember I faced the most is I was like, I'm alone, I hate myself, no one cares if I'm here, and it's just me against the world. But the truth is, so many people like that feel that way, and I'd argue the majority of people have moments in their life where they just hate themselves, they feel like they're at a low, and then there's also mental illnesses, which are very, very prevalent. So there's a lot of things that are happening where people are just need to know that A, they're not alone. Once I let people know they're not alone through talking about my experiences in music, then I have this audience where I've been building a movement where every day I go live, and every day I talk about how there's nothing good, helpful, or to be glorified about harming yourself. You're just gonna set yourself back. It's important we talk about these things because freedom of speech, right? It's important you talk about anything to bring awareness instead of just hiding it and acting like it doesn't exist, and that's how you perpetrate the problem, right? So by talking about it, letting people know that there's healthier coping mechanisms. For me, my coping mechanism, because I used to struggle with hurting myself, was my career. What else do I have to live for? If I spend every single waking second towards my career, every time I hate myself, I write a song about it, which is why the songs are a little darker, etc., is at least I'm doing something productive. So I need awareness. So I got to tell people about finding a healthy coping mechanism, letting them know they're not alone, and building a community of people that can take care of each other, which is the movement we've been building, the X movement, and just like, a sense of community, all these things, and awareness.
It's beautiful. I mean, it really is. I mean, and that's where all the great subculture comes from, and that's where I think a lot of the greatest music, I remember reading something in a magazine, I'm dating myself, I'm reading magazines, where someone was saying about Iron Maiden is more likely to send kids running to the library than running to the devil. And it was like about, they have songs about Alexander the Great and, Winston Churchill giving a speech on an album, and people that look at heavy music or certain movies from the outside and just see something dark and negative don't realize, like, oh, this music isn't causing people to do bad things. It's preventing people from doing bad things because they have this music to listen to.
Right. A huge problem could be censorship. If people aren't talking about things, then people feel isolated and they feel alone because no one's talking about what they're feeling, even if it is a negative thing.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I'm a big believer that sunlight is the best disinfectant. If there are dark and negative and scary things, they need to be exposed and brought out into the light where we can turn them over and examine them and solve problems that way. And those conversations are going to get messy, and people are going to say things that step on one another, and we have to be able to do that.
1000%.
So you've sensed, you've encountered some word policing and out there, people complaining about, you said this and you're not supposed to say that. And,
yeah.
What's your experience been there with kind of the policing of language and the threats of cancellation, and all that stuff?
I think people should be able to say anything. But I mean, maybe I'm just desensitized because I've heard everything.
But they're saying it all to you while criticizing you for what you say.
Exactly. All the same. It's all hypocritical. It's like
you're a biget. You should kill yourself.
Right.
Wait a second.
well, my favorite word, and let me know if I'm allowed to say this one, is faggot. I'm bisexual. I've been called that name my entire life, and so I use that word all the time in my music because A, it's allowed me to take the power back in that. Mm-hmm. I'm called out all the time. Well, fuck yeah, I'm a faggot. And then I like to use it, and it's also like, you're gonna be offended by that, and what's the context? If you self-identify with it, you're taking the power yourself. As long as it makes sense to do that.
No, and there's a grand tradition of that, right? With a lot of marginalized communities 1000%. Taking these, epithets and things that were weaponized against them and defanging them by redefining what it means.
1000%.
I think it's awesome. And they certainly give Grammys and all sorts of accolades to all kinds of artists who have said and done all sorts of unsavory things. And that's just the process of making art.
True.
So when you are setting down now to write a song, what's changed versus even say a year ago, 2 years ago, in terms of your process and having a band around you, and what's the creative process like right now?
Not too much has changed. One big thing that's changed is I have this right-hand man, Cam, my roommate, who is always there with me through everything. He's like my best friend. And he's always there through everything. So that has changed. I didn't have Cam before, and now I do, and I'm thankful for Cam. Outside of that, slowly I'm also incorporating the rest of the band. And then I'm getting back finally to, I started TX2 because I was like, I hate bands.
Right.
Now I'm like, okay, bands work if there's an understanding among each other. It's like a
Well,
family,
but also you've
etc.
defined what the thing is. And
Right.
So now you can build a band around like, hey, do you like this thing I'm doing?
Exactly.
Put it
It's like
together
the message is clear, what it is.
Instead of trying to
right?
like fight with people.
And then figuring out
Yeah.
what it is. So slowly incorporating more band members, etc. And then I guess just I'm always constantly learning things about songwriting. Like I feel like I've improved a lot as a songwriter because I'm not the best, and by realizing the moment you think you're the best at anything, you're certainly not. So like I still have a lot of progress to make as a songwriter, but I'm getting better by practicing songwriting. So
You made a really cool point the other day. I saw, around the time that we're taping this, who knows when someone's watching it, but you have all these great tours coming up, and a lot of bigger bands have co-signed TX2, and Ice Nine Kills is taking you on tour, and I saw you made this really great post about some of these headlining shows you're doing where you're like, hey, this, and to me it didn't even seem braggadocious, it just seemed really honest, where you were like, hey, these shows might be the last chance I have to meet every single one of you at the merch table. Like it's still small and intimate enough that you can come and we can all hang out together, and I don't know how much longer that's going to be possible. I just thought that was really cool, because you're not wrong. You certainly have the momentum for that to very well come true much sooner rather than later, but also that you're just like putting that out there where, some kid's going to see that and be like, oh, he's right, I should go to that show and meet him, and that might be their chance, right?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I guess the reason it is because we actually in Boston on our last headliner, we sold out a 500 cap, which and like we still tried to meet every single person, and then when we tried to meet every single person, like there was like venue rule with this, think about how much time that takes. 2 minutes a person, 500 people they wanted to meet, and then because of that, we ended up getting kicked out into the cold. But we still did it. But I'm like, there's got to be a point where it's like over 500 people, man. That's like 4 hours of meeting people, and I got to be in this next city the next day. So we're not going to be able to.
Especially trying to have a meaningful interaction with every person too, and not just hello.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. The most, yeah. I just want to be able to make a difference when I do that too, right? Like you said. So, yeah, it's just there's going to be a point where that's not humanly possible. But up until then, I'm just lucky to have anybody who cares about me and my music. So I'm trying to let them know that.
Yeah. So I think a big misconception a lot of times with artists who have success on SoundCloud and now on TikTok and things like that is that won't translate to, oh, this person's big on TikTok, but they can't draw anybody at their shows, or they don't sell merch, or they can't do this or that. And I think, Sleep Theory is a great example of a band that blew up on TikTok and is now blowing up on the radio and getting on huge tours and has a following. I think you're proving that perception wrong as well. What would you say are some of the steps to making that leap from like just being a TikTok thing to translating into actual fans and being able to play shows and real in that way?
I think the most important thing is standing for something. We talk all the time about human rights, LGBT rights. We talk all the time about mental health. We're building a movement and a community of people, and it's much more than the music. Like I said, I feel like anyone can make good music, anyone can make et cetera, anyone could look good while making good music. Boring, what do you stand for? And so for me, I'm just trying to stand for something, make my message clear, and the people that the message really resonates with have followed into it. So I think it's about being more than the music, more than anything else.
I love that. And I say it all the time, but the art that I connect with is the art that feels authentic and where I feel like the person making it is doing it because they have to, right? If they weren't making that art, if they weren't writing that movie, if they weren't singing that song, they just couldn't even exist. And I get that sense from you, which is what made me want to sit down and talk to you. And I find it endlessly fascinating that some of the criticism that people would look at you and be like, oh, this is so fake. And I'm like, this is so very authentically this person. It's the opposite of fake.
Yeah. But it's just people projecting their own insecurities of themselves onto me is all bullying and hatred is, right? Why else would you throw that out at someone instead of just walking by them?
Yeah, and they say with narcissists, every accusation's a confession, right? So they're like, that's fake. It's usually the fakest person.
Oh, interesting that you say that. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Indeed. So at the time that we're having this conversation, you have so much in front of you, so much coming down the road. What are you working on that you can talk about that's next in the pipeline?
We still haven't technically released a debut album for TX2, so we're gonna release that this year. And then we're going on these tours. I think I can't talk about any other tours, but we are. I'm trying to think about what I can talk about. Constant songs. I think every month we're trying to drop a song. We're just trying to keep putting out art, keeping the ship afloat, and then.
And that's a very fresh approach, and it's a very kind of hip hop approach. I mean, because we used to, rock bands traditionally, it was like make a record and then tour it for 2 or 3 years, and then maybe take a break, and then spend another year writing another record in these long gaps, and you're just constantly putting out music.
I just don't feel like I have the opportunity to take breaks. I don't know when the last time I took a vacation or break was. Outside of like occasionally Cam and I watch Game of Thrones. But other than that.
Not a vacation.
yeah. But other than that, I just feel like the universe, didn't want me to be here, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get here. And so because of that, I don't have the opportunity to take breaks or to fall off. And as long as I just keep going, et cetera, and the thing that fuels me is that I'm doing this. What else do I have to live for? Quite frankly, not too many other things make me happy. So I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna spend my life on it, and I'm gonna get to where I want to.
If you didn't have platforms like TikTok and Instagram and SoundCloud and Spotify and all this stuff available to you to get things out there, I mean, what else could you have done, right? I mean, that's kind of, like you said, you don't feel like there's...
It's not too many ways, but I do know the older school strategies was just making people talk. Doing things like all the bands that we've mentioned before did things that made people talk,
Yeah, and a lot of those bands that we talked about made boisterous statements, like, we're going to be the biggest band in the world. And
exactly, and it made people talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Indeed. I love that. And if we can't talk, then, if we don't have our ability to express ourselves, we don't have anything.
Exactly.
I got to ask you, you've mentioned a few times, and I don't want to be too invasive here, but you keep saying, you feel like the universe didn't want you to exist. Where does that come from? Like, why do you...
It comes from, I feel like, when I started TX2, everyone said you're never gonna make it. I became a joke among the school. When I went to Miami, I was like, no one wanted to accept me as he makes pop punk. The community I was in around was jazz. No one liked that. And then, I started making content on TikTok. Oh, he's a poser, he's this, he's that, he's blah, 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 whatever it is. And then it's like constantly, there's people hating, saying things. We're dealing with we're like, but we also set ourselves up for it. But okay, I guess really what this comes down to, I ran into a circle there, was that there's too many people in the world. There's so much music, so much art. The only way I've studied how all of these artists have made it, and the way they make it is doing things that make people talk with big moments and et cetera, and things that go way beyond the music. Anyone can make a good song. There's so many talented artists who people don't listen to. And does that mean they're less talented because less people listen to them? No, I don't think how many people listen to you has any effect. There's some music I don't even think's good that, has a huge audience,
sure.
Right? So the point being, it's all about, It's all about making people talk and doing whatever it takes to make people talk. So I just feel like, the universe isn't gonna give it to me. No one's gonna give me the handout. I have to do what it takes to earn it.
So when you talked about getting the Black Parade and getting, I think American Idiot was the Green Day record?
Yeah.
Those records certainly have like a theatricality and thematic sense of like purpose to them. And was that a big part of what attracted you? Is that how that sort of ended up in what you're doing? Because I see a lot of that idea.
I love, because of those albums, they influenced everything. I feel like I love that they created concept records, worlds, and universes. And I've always been a huge nerd for universes, worlds. Huge Lord of the Rings fan, huge Star Wars fan, huge the Xenomorphs and the Alien franchise are something that I'm very, very, very interested in. But outside of that, like it's just I like universes, and I want to eventually create a universe as well because it's also an escape from reality. And everyone, not everyone, but most people hate reality, so it's like an opportunity to give people a chance to get out.
We're gonna go down a Xenomorph rabbit hole now.
Do you like Xenomorphs and Alien franchises?
I love Xenomorphs.
Dude, I could talk about that franchise. I have a lot, like I have a facehugger replica in my room and stuff. I have a lot of shirts and stuff.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan, and I got to see. I don't know where else I can name drop this, but I've gotten to interview Ridley Scott a couple of times.
Oh, that's crazy, dude.
It's been a while.
Crazy.
But yeah, obviously.
Ridley Scott is nuts.
And what's amazing to me about those first two movies in particular is that they're so different from one another, but they're both equally great.
Right.
And it's two very different styles of filmmaker.
Yep.
And you have this first one that's very much like isolated and claustrophobic and conspiratorial and all these stuff that's happening thematically, and then that second one that's like an action movie, but it's like the greatest action movie
of all time.
I mean, just
1,000%. Aliens was
masterpieces.
Incredible.
Yeah. The Predator idea was good, and I love Predator.
Alien versus Predator, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Miss me with that, yeah.
So what do you think about those kind of later, like Prometheus and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's like, I like it. I like the universe, but it just didn't.
It's hard for me to follow.
Same.
It gets a little
it's not
convoluted.
It's just not the same.
But
like, Alien Romulus was crazy.
Romulus was crazy.
Pretty good.
I could do without the Ian Holm. I know they got his permission and everything, but the weird like.
Oh yeah, Cam and I were complaining about
Let's
this.
not resurrect dead actors.
Yeah, the CGI thing, like during the.
Doesn't look good.
Yeah, boo.
It kind of worked in Rogue One because Peter Cushing has a very chiseled, sharp face that lends itself to that. But then like the Princess Leia looked terrible.
Yeah.
And it's just a weird road to go down.
Yeah. If you can avoid CGI, you should.
I mean, we're gonna have movies with like James Dean and Marilyn Monroe in them and stuff. I mean, is that
that's-
where it's going?
Yeah,
Is
that's
Elvis gonna put out new records?
Yeah.
I don't think that's.
I'm not a big fan of that.
So you wouldn't sign your likeness rights away to be recreated after you die?
No, I don't think so. But I respect those who do, but just, you have to ask.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about Ice Nine Kills is the lore and the fact that there's this whole ink verse and that it's told through different mediums and there's this whole story you can sink your teeth into. And like you said, I mean, yeah, I love Tolkien, love a lot of sci-fi, a lot of horror, a lot of fantasy. I definitely see that in what you're building too. Is that going to be part of the eventual album that you're working on?
Oh yeah. Cam and I's dream one day is to make a concept album, concept record too. I just don't know that I'm at the place where I can do what I want yet. That's the reason I haven't. I feel like I want to be able to have the right budget and ability to do so. And when I can, we're going to build a world.
World building.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, you're a big world builder yourself.
I'm a big fan of storytelling and world building.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the through line of, rather than trying to describe 6 different things that I do all the time, I'm just like, I'm a storyteller. I like hearing people's stories and I like helping to tell them.
You are, it summarizes it.
And that's what the best music is, right?
True.
Storytelling about who you are and what you've been through and a snapshot of where you're at right now.
1,000%.
So without giving away too much, in your dream vision, is world building, is this like stage show? Is this the merch? Is this,
Everything. One day I want to create a concept record front to back that has a story that I have in my mind that I want to do the full justice of. I want a short film, I want a comic book, I want short form content series, I want everything I can possibly get to build a universe.
Are you an Office fan?
Please don't hate me, I haven't seen it.
Nah, it's okay.
That
just reminded me of a great one.
I know, I'm really uneducated on that one. It's really bad.
You have lots of tours in front of you, you have endless time for endless binging.
Yeah.
In your bunk.
Yeah, I feel like
you're too much of a workaholic. You're not. I can't imagine you even sitting down and really watching much.
Cam and I occasionally start series that's like our break. We just watched Breaking Bad. We're watching Game of Thrones now. Honestly, these are Cam's recommendations. I've been so uneducated and uncultured on all of these. He's like slowly filling me in on everything.
Since you're doing Breaking Bad, are you doing Better Call Saul?
We haven't yet.
You have to.
No, we haven't yet.
It's just a little bit. It's a slow burn, but I would say by the end of it, it was even a better show.
That's what I've wondered. I've heard that. I've heard mixed things.
Have you done Sopranos yet?
I have not. Is that also another one to add to the
I've been through it 5 times, so yeah.
It's that good?
I could recommend it.
All right, I'll check it out.
It's easily top 5 greatest shows of all time.
Have you seen that, Cam? Sopranos?
He's
Sorry,
like,
so
oh, yeah.
he's like the art, like he knows.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Twilight Zone, Sopranos, Mad Men, Twin Peaks is up there.
Word.
Daredevil. I know it's a little newer, but I think the Daredevil Netflix show is the greatest live action comic
I haven't seen it either. I'd have to ask Cam.
I want to make you a list.
Yeah, dude, I'd love that. I'd love that.
Yeah, and concept records. Make you a list of some of those too.
I would love that. What's your favorite concept record?
Ooh, I mean, The Wall, of course,
Classic.
is a big one. Voivod has some great concept records. King Diamond is like kind of the master. King Diamond album.
Got
It's
it.
pretty incredible. Nothing like hearing a satanic Danish man sing in falsetto about his grandmother.
I'm hooked.
So, yeah,
I'm hooked.
good stories. Yeah, anytime you can have props in your metal stage show.
Oh, I know. We're currently trying to build a prop, if we can. We're trying to build a podium.
Ooh,
Yeah.
like a lectern.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can do
Like a governor. 'Cause
Yeah.
We're kind of already building in this album. Like, I wish we could, since I want to do a concept record so bad, it's like hinting at a concept record, but it's not there. Just hinting, you know.
Building blocks.
Yes, building blocks.
Easter eggs, or like planting seeds for
Exactly.
down the road.
For the long road. Yeah.
I like it. So, what advice do you have for, since these are your fans that you're interacting with all the time too?
Yeah.
People that grew up similar to you, that have, that were bullied, that felt isolated, that felt like they didn't have anything to live for, that want to express themselves, that maybe are afraid to speak up, maybe afraid to be themselves. What advice do you have?
Talk about it. No one can see how you're doing or know without actually talking about it, because mental illness does not look any way. Sometimes I look very happy. I also like to present myself as a very happy person, but I'm not. And talk about it. Know that you're not alone. There's a reason, unfortunately, suicide rates are so high. It's a very, very common thing that people need to just talk about, know that they're not alone, and know that life is worth living because you have no clue what is coming unless you're there. I never would have thought, I've had failed attempts, thankfully, and I'm just lucky to be here because I never would have thought I made it. I never would have thought I'd be in a room like this over an interview. Are you kidding me? They had parking spaces. You know what I'm saying? I never would have thought I've gotten here. So, and the only way I would have known is that I'm still alive. And I know that goes for anyone. You could do anything if you set your mind to it because the universe didn't want me to be here. I had to work my fucking ass off with no excuses, no exceptions to get to this point. And if I can do this, certainly coming from Fort Collins felt like the odds all against me, anyone can do anything. You just have to live and you just have to play the long game, which means you have to be here.
I love that, and I think that is an amazing place to land the plane. Evan, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, man.
In all senses of the word.
Thanks,
Thank you for still being here.
Thank you.
Please continue to stay here.
I promise I will.
Awesome.
Thanks.